The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham fans and friends inspired by the work of other football food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for a Newham food bank in Beckton, who supplies 7 distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thanks for your support. Come on, you Irons. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the West Ham Massive. Thanks for joining me, and please don't forget to like, comment on and share this stream to your social media platforms, and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, and make sure you hit the bell icon for alerts of new content. Don't forget to click all, and as always, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much indeed for your support in this particular endeavour. Little bit of housekeeping. Always try and get this bit out the way just in case there's kids watching. If adult language is going to offend you, then please exit the premises now. Before you do that, though, don't forget to drop a like on the stream and subscribe, and then you can let yourself out. Anyway, we are here to discuss the goings on at London Stadium last night. The UEFA Europa League Group A, match day 4 of 6. West Ham United 1, Olympiacos 0. If you're watching this after the fact, get your comments in on what we're going to discuss, please, and then I'll get stuck into that later. For the rest of you that are watching live, get your comments in as I go along on the various things as we go along. If there's anything you want to add, get stuck in, get it in there, if you don't mind. Right. Okay, also intermittently on the bottom, the ticker will intermittently change with various little facts that happened during the game or little facts associated to the game, excuse me. Before I get stuck into that, I'm just going to quickly dive in and see who is in the comments. We've got Martin. Hope you're doing well, my friend. We got Mark. How you doing? Hope you are good. They're saying hello to each other. We got Adrian in. How you doing? My nephew went to his first game last night. Not sure he wants to go again. Adrian, we will discuss this. We will discuss it. I can empathise. And there is a silver lining in that particular grey cloud that you're talking about. And because it's Friday evening, you'll have to forgive me. Why not? It's been a long week. Right. Okay. So let's get stuck into it. I'll get this added as well. There you go. And I'll get rid of that. Okay. Right. So don't know about you. I don't know whether any of you guys that are in the comments or any of you guys that are watching this latterly, whether you was at the game or whether you watched it on the telly or you listened to it on the radio, you just saw highlights on YouTube or whatever. So that was the team that was put out by David Moyes. Now, my normal question, if I have a guest in the hot seat, which is normally my brother, but apologies, he couldn't make it tonight. And unfortunately, nobody else could jump into that particular breach. So apologies. I'm going to be the person that's asking and answering the question. So I'm a little bit sort of like of a sort of schizophrenic sort of thing in that sense. I'm going to have to play both sides. But as I say, you guys get stuck into it as we go and give us your thoughts on both of the starting 11s. Probably you can't give us thoughts on so much on the Olympiacos 11. Neither can I. I obviously really only saw them a couple of weeks ago when they turned us over. There was a couple of players that impressed me. But I can't really give too much of a sort of like an insight into whether, that was a sort of like a really good performance, but it was an oasis in the desert or what. I haven't got a clue. So as far as the Olympiacos team is concerned, pretty much of a muchness. Far as the team that we kicked out, I mean, the goalkeeper was as expected. Kufal and Emerson were the fullbacks. Again, strong. They're the first team fullbacks. Aguirre is obviously, arguably, the first team centre back. Mavropanos, maybe not so much, but is there a growing case for the Greek centre back to come in? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on your point of view. Obviously, the problem that he's got is that the guy that's taking that right centre-back berth, it happens to be the guy that's got the armband, as per David Moyes. Is that the right decision or not? That's a matter of opinion. But Mavropanos was at centre-back alongside Aguirre. According to this, we played 4-2-3-1. Now, whether it was, whether it wasn't, that's what they've got it down as. Alvarez and Ward-Prowse alongside him. You then had Ben Rama left, Kudus right, Paquetá in the 10 position with Bowen up top. I thought that David Moyes probably went as strong as he could have done. Maybe there's a case for certain little alterations. Maybe he could have had, I don't know, maybe Maxwell Cornet on the left-hand side. Maybe he could have had, you could argue Divine Mubama or Antonio up top. I think that was probably as strong a team as he could have put out, in all fairness to him. So, my thought when I saw the starting 11, I was like, yeah, he's not playing games. I mean, I think David Moyes came in for a lot of criticism after the leg away, or not the leg, because obviously it's not a first legs home leg away leg. It's like a league format, obviously. So he came in for a lot of criticism, didn't he? Because he made a lot of changes. He made a lot of alterations, and obviously he came unstuck, and we come away from Greece with absolutely nothing to show with it other than a fantastic goal by Paquetá, but we lost that game by a scoreline of 2-1. So I think that he learned his lesson from that. I think he looked at that and went, okay, we need to get back on track. We need to get a win by hook, by crook. So I'm going to go as strong as possible. And I'd like to think that that was probably as close to what I consider to be our strongest starting 11 as possible. Again, some people might say Thomas Souček should have been there, or the Areola should have been there. Look, I think it's marginal gains. I don't think that there's an awful lot to choose between a lot of them players. I'd say that's as strong as it could have got. And I think that David Moyes, like I say, largely that came about because he's learnt lessons from the previous outing between the two teams. So that's that as far as that's concerned. So let me just move on to the next little section. I thought we started brightly. I thought that probably for about the first 15 minutes, I would suggest, I think we were looking bright. We were moving the ball around. Kudus was buzzing around, and I think he was causing quite a few problems for their back line. He really did pull them around a bit, gave them the run around. And I was very optimistic at that point. I was sitting there going, oh, hello. This looks like it could develop into something quite interesting. And then after about 15 minutes, I don't know whether it was that we regressed. I don't know whether Olympiacos started to gain a foothold. I don't know whether it was 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. But little by little, as the clock ticked around from minute 15 onwards, there seemed to be a very distinct shift in the emphasis of the pattern of play. Olympiacos started to gain a bit more parity. Now, it has to be said that whilst I'm saying that, it has to be recognised that once the 90 was up, when you actually look at the stats, you realise very quickly that Olympiacos in shots on target had 0 in terms of shots on target in 90 minutes against us. Now, that being said, I think that sort of moving on a pace, I think that we were probably the better of two not very good teams on the night, in my humble opinion. You guys might disagree with that statement. You might think that that's very unfair. not a problem. As I say, I'm just passing my opinion. That's what I'm here to do. So probably the only sort of like really bit of any significance, probably from that point on, we had a corner that was taken, and from that corner, it was Aguirre that got up above the Greek defence more than anybody else. He gets his header onto the cross. Unfortunately, it did lack something of a little bit of the accuracy that was required. And on minute 34, the header from Aguirre from the corner bounced just past the left upright. We get to half time. Now, I'm then sitting there to give my thoughts on the first half performance. As I say, I thought that the first 15 minutes we were bright, we were incisive, we looked like we was playing with a little bit of courage, a little bit of bravery, which was something that I think we've lacked in recent weeks, if I'm being honest with you. And as we've gone on, and you know, probably you've got to take the Arsenal game away from that particular sequence, obviously, because we won that. But if we just sort of like move that to one side, because I think that's a bit of an anomaly. Recently, I do think that there have been players that have been playing with a little bit of fear in them. And I think that that inhibits them, and then they don't get the best performance out of themselves. That's just my view on it. Again, could be wrong. You might disagree with me. And if you do, get a comment in and tell me I'm talking bollocks. But I do think that there have been players playing with a certain spectre of fear, the fear of failure. So my thoughts on the first half performance was started okay, petered out towards the sort of like the final 2/3 of it. We were the better team, but as I say, that doesn't necessarily mean to say we were sort of playing like Barcelona of sort of 2011 or whatever. You know, we were okay, but that's pretty much it. So that was us at the first half. My worry during the halftime interval was the same worry that I've had recently quite often, is that David Moyes is going to get them in at halftime. He's going to give them a halftime mug of Horlicks. He's going to sing them a lullaby. He's going to give them ketamine sandwiches. And we're going to come out and we're going to be quite lackadaisical. We're going to be sort of like quite slack, and we're going to concede a goal. That was my concern. I got to be honest with you. I needn't have worried, because, as I say, they weren't really up to much in the final third. They really weren't. And as I say, when you look at the stats and you realise that they went 90 minutes and not a single shot on target, you kind of realise that actually we didn't really need to do too much in order to be the best, the best team on the night. But we were the best of two pretty poor teams, if I'm being honest. But anyway, that's my thoughts on it more broadly. As I say, the first half, like I say, we were the better of two bad teams. But I was concerned. I really was concerned, because that's how I've been conditioned these last sort of like month and a half, maybe even longer than that. That we're going to come out in the second half, and we are going to concede a goal, whether we're winning, whether we're drawing, whether we're losing. We're just not going to be quite switched on. We're going to let something in. But the game developed. The game sort of like moved on into the second half. We was still quite sluggish. I still felt that there was a little bit of the handbrake on, a little bit of fear, trepidation in the air. And I don't think that we really sort of did well out of it. But then we got to the 73rd minute. 0-0, the scores were still locked. And James Ward-Prowse, who I thought had a very, very good game, if I'm being honest. I thought he moved the ball well. He was getting involved. And he plays this ball over the back line, over the top of the back line, and moving onto it into the penalty box. There's Lucas Paquetá, who hits it left foot volley past the goalkeeper. So I jump up, giving it sort of like, yay, well done. As I've jumped up, and there's 62,000 or however many was there, I don't think it was 62,000. Actually, I know it wasn't 62,000. And there's a little moan that I want to have towards the club, actually. But this is a more general point, and one that I've made on a few occasions before. But anyway, I digress. So Lucas Paquetá gets on the end of the ball from James Ward-Prowse, volley, left foot, bang, past the goalkeeper, crowd erupts, and the Linos flag goes up. And I went, fuck. So I'm sitting there, and they've obviously gone to a VAR check eventually. Fine. Now, here's what I don't understand. And obviously, at the time, I didn't quite. Obviously, I'm in the ground. They don't show it on the screens. You don't know what's going on. You're in the dark. The people on at home, I would have thought, would have known fairly quickly that it was in fact a goal, and that we were going to be 1 goal to the good. But we was waiting. It seemed quite a while in the stadium. It was probably a good minute and a half, 2 minutes, maybe more. I don't know. I didn't time it. I'll be perfectly honest with you. But it seemed to take ages. Now, in the photographs and stills that I've seen latterly, I just sit there and go, why the fuck did it take so long? That was pretty clearly onside from where I was sitting. So anyway, eventually, after a bit of a wait, the referee gives the signal, points, makes the sign of the old TV screen, blows his whistle, points to the centre spot, and it's a goal. So we're 1-0 up. And to be honest, from that point on, I thought that there was only going to be one winner unless we did something horrendously bad. Now, David Moyes, it has to be said, the one thing, not the one thing, but one of the criticisms that I make of him is his use of substitutions, or lack of use of substitutions, or the predictability of the substitutions. But it all centers around substitutions. And it happened again last night. We didn't use a substitute until the 80th minute. And it was his son-in-law, Thomas Soucek, that was the person that came on. Now, this is what I think. I think that this will cost us eventually. And it might not cost us as far as yesterday's match is concerned. It might not cost us as far as the Nottingham Forest game is concerned. But my issue is that I think that we've got such a shallow squad that I do think we need to use the substitutes a bit more readily than we do. That's the first thing. Because as the season will wear on and players are playing European games, and obviously they go away and they play for their country and this, that, and the other. If we keep playing the same players for 80 minutes, 75 minutes, 85 minutes, whatever, when they get towards the end of the season, they're picking up injuries or they're just fucking tired, Mr. Moyes. They're shattered. The other thing I sort of like think is that sort of like any other manager, when you're losing a game, and obviously we weren't losing yesterday, so this is just a little bit of a general observation. How many times has David Moyes in his time as a West Ham manager made a tactical substitution? So not a substitution which came about because of an injury or a sending off. How many times has David Moyes made a tactical substitution that has actually resulted in us turning a loss into a draw or a draw into a win? I think, from memory, I can't think of too many times it's happened. I've got a vague recollection that Yarmolenko might have been a substitute when he came on in was it the Everton or the Villa game? I think it was Villa, wasn't it? The game 2 seasons ago now, where he sort of like controlled it, swiveled, hit it past the goalkeeper. I'm sure it was Villa. And I think he also, obviously, the Sevilla game, I think that was a substitution. So that's fine. But there's not too many times where David Moyes has made the sort of substitution where it's really influenced the game. Usually it's had the reverse effect, in all honesty. But as I say, primarily my point about David Moyes yesterday, the use of a substitute on the 80th minute and then a couple more beyond it, I think that is going to be to our detriment. I really do. I just think it will be a cumulative thing where we're just going to keep flogging the same players week after week for 80, 85, 90 plus minutes. And then they get to the end of the season, like I say, they'll get a hamstring pull, they'll get a calf tear, or they're just fucked. They're just fucked. Anyway, that's my little rant out of the way. Probably not an awful lot happened. I mean, the one thing I will say is that kind of frustrated me, and I don't know about you guys, maybe you didn't pick up on it if you weren't there, but it certainly happened in front of my eyes, is that they were throwing themselves to the floor, it seemed, every fucking 5 minutes. They were throwing themselves to the floor and just sort of like trying to get free kicks here, free kicks there. Typical fucking continentals trying to sort of like, just disrupt the pattern of the play and all that. And look, I get it. They're the underdogs. They're away from home. So that's probably what they're going to do. But I don't fucking like it. I really don't. Anyway, move on to the 86th minute, and as I say, we was controlling the game. We was keeping them arm's length. We weren't looking sensational going forwards. We had the odd little opportunity, the odd little half chance. Benny frustrated the life out of me. I can't lie. I like Ben Rama, but he just keeps making the wrong fucking choices. It's just continual. And it's such a shame because I think he's a real talent, but he's just gone backwards this season for me, and he just doesn't look like the player that I think he should be. But anyway, we get to 4 minutes before the 90 ends, and one of their players, Kamara, has a shot which comes off the outside of the post, goal kick, 86 minutes. I would say that was the closest that Olympiacos came to actually troubling Lucas Fabianski in the West Ham goal. Had that goal gone in, I mean, that would have been an absolute body blow. I mean, we'd have got 1 point from the match. We'd have had 10 points, 7 points, excuse me. And I think we'd have been really sort of like up against it, because here's the thing. At the same time that this game was going on, Freiburg were putting 5 past Bacca Topola. So I think we can say that Bacca Topola are the whipping boys, right? Now, we'll probably get 3 points off of them. But Freiburg, yes, it's at London Stadium, so you'd like to think home advantage would come into play. But they're in form and we're not. And that's the thing that concerns me. The game against Freiburg is the one that I really sort of look at and go, But I think that probably the 3 points that we got yesterday do ensure that we're going to be playing European football beyond the group stage. Whether it's going to be the Europa League into the last 16, whether it's going to be a playoff, I don't know. I think it's going to be incredibly unlikely it's going to be Conference League football, but it's always a possibility, I suppose. But my thoughts on the second half really were we were marginally better than they were, and they weren't great. So I take no pride in it. It's not like it was a swashbuckling performance and there was shots, goalkeeper was making saves. It was cleared off the line. It was 2 fairly poor teams, and we were just slightly less poor than them. It was a tough watch. But that being said, when you're in a bit of a run of bad form, of bad results, however you want to term it. I mean, David Moyes reckons we're not in bad form. David Moyes reckons it's just bad luck or this, that, and the other. I beg to differ. But sometimes when you're on that run, you just need to grind out a result. You just need to, as Clive would have said, you just need to win ugly. Well, we won, and it was sure as fuck ugly. It really was. So, we got the win. We obviously sort of move on as far as our Europa League campaign's concerned. Hopefully, everybody's come through it. There's been no niggles. No one sort of turns around, came to Rush Green today, sort of like training the next day and said, "Oh, boss, I've got a little bit of a problem with me hammy," or this, that, and the other. So hopefully everybody comes through it unscathed. So, my thoughts on the second half performance, as I say, marginally better than they were, and they were fucking useless, to be perfectly honest with you. Star players, star men for each team, as far as they're concerned, as I say, they weren't really up to much. So I'm not even going to waste my time on trying to select their best player. As far as we were concerned, I think there was a number of contenders. You've got to give Lucas Paquetá a big thumbs up for the goal. Really good sort of like as far as his passing and sort of tackles is concerned, which really surprises me when you sort of think of he came in as a Brazilian playmaker, and yet he's someone he likes getting stuck in. But he does frustrate me at times with some of the sort of like the throwing himself around and whatever. It is a frustration of mine. But I would probably say James Ward-Prowse was the player that impressed me the most. So again, I'm hoping that you guys are in the live chat, or any of you guys that are watching this latterly, you're getting your points in the comment section or into the live chat, whichever, you'll be watching it live or latterly, to give me your thoughts on what I'm going through here, these different topics. So I'm going to go with James Ward-Prowse. Was the final score a fair reflection on how the match panned out? Yeah, although it could be argued that a draw wouldn't have been out of line because, as I say, I don't think we were, fundamentally better than they were. So, if it had finished 1-0 to us, or if it had finished a 0-0 or a 1-0, if they'd have got that chance just gone to the other side of the post in the 86th minute, and obviously then that would have made it 1-1. I probably couldn't have complained too much. So, was it a fair reflection? I think it was. I'm not going to sort of say that we were sensational. We absolutely weren't. We stunk the place out, but we were marginally less stinky than the Greeks. How do I think that this result will impact on our next match? Well, let's go in two different directions. How do I think it will impact on our next Europa League match? Probably not a great deal. I think that Freiburg was always going to be the toughest test of the three matches that remained, and obviously we've got one of those three matches out of the way yesterday in Olympiacos, and we got a 1-0 win. But back at Topola really should be a gimme. So it's all on the Freiburg game as far as I'm concerned. So I think that as far as our progress in Europe, as I say, that's pretty much assured. And do excuse my dog as she's barking because somebody's at the door. Fantastic. Really, for me, I'm hoping that the players have got some sort of confidence out of the result, because to be honest with you, I was less bothered about the Olympiacos fixture than I was the Nottingham Forest fixture. So hopefully it's given them a little bit of a boost, a little bit of confidence. And obviously we can go into that game on Sunday with a little bit of positivity around us. So that's pretty much it from me. There's not really too much more that I can add to this particular conversation. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly have a little look at the live chat and just see what you guys have got here. I do apologize for my dog barking. Somebody's knocked at the door and she's barking and no one's dealing with her. I'm on a live stream, for fuck's sake. What do you want me to do? Really? Anyway, right. Let's have a little look at what you guys have put in the live chat. And please keep them coming in. Mark says, like the team Moyes put out, but wanted to see Cornet start. As I say, it was pretty strong. I wasn't sort of too devastated with the team. Cornet might have been an option on the left. Left side is a bit of a problem. I mean, sort of like, I know that Paquetá played there, but it's not his position. Let's be completely honest. And it's only because he wants to put Souček in the team, isn't it? Martin says, I didn't see the match. My device went down. Like the lineup, but it sounds like it did work. Well, it wasn't particularly entertaining. It worked in the sense that we got the win. And I suppose when you're in a bad run of form, as I say, it's all about getting the win, and you can deal with other things later. They did make it difficult, but they didn't really threaten anything in the final third, Mark. They really didn't. Do they practice passing in training? Really needs to improve. Well, you say that. I mean, our pass accuracy, just for statistical purposes, I've got this in front of me, was 80%. So of every 5 passes they made 4 of them went to its intended target. Now, is that good? Is that bad? That's up to you to decide. Our midfield disappeared after Alvarez was taken off. I think the reason he was taken off, he was on a yellow, wasn't he? I'm pretty sure he was on a yellow card. So with that being the case, I'm just double checking. Yes, he was. So I got a funny feeling that probably Moyes was protecting him. He probably thought that it was, I mean, just looking there, Martin makes the point. Was Alvarez poor, or was it the yellow that he picked up? I think that the yellow played a part, because obviously from that point he's treading on the eggshells a little bit. So the yellow would have played a part in what you saw there, no doubt about it. Mark's just confirming, no, he was okay, so it might have been the yellow card. That is true. Alvarez was quality and never a booking. Ref was a snowflake. Yeah, to be fair, Paul, I thought that it was a little bit of a harsh one, but obviously I'm up in the gods in block 203, so I'm a long way away. Ref was terrible. Yeah, the ref wasn't great, but then, to be fair, when players are throwing themselves to the ground, it's like the referee's really not helped by the players in that situation. Yeah, I didn't really think it was a foul either, Martin. Peter, hope you are well. Welcome along. And the ref didn't have a clue. I'm guessing you've missed out the word have, so I'll go with the ref didn't have a clue. Paul, never Moyes' fault. Picked the wrong team in the first leg and can never change tactics in any game. Yeah, he did pick the wrong team in the first game. I think he learned from it, which is why the team, as I said earlier, was much, much stronger, probably as close to the first 11 as you would get. Tactics, listen, David Moyes is what David Moyes is. I don't think at 60 years of age or thereabouts, and at 20 years as a Premier League manager and over 1,000 games he's got, that he's all of a sudden going to change and become the next Pep Guardiola. I really don't. So I think, David Moyes is what David Moyes is. It's as simple as that. Hope you're well, Budgie. Thanks for coming along, my friend. Mark goes on to say, we seem to struggle when we have possession and need to break a team down. Well, yes, I would agree with that. I think because whether we like it or not, I think that the players that we've got and with the manager that we've got that's implementing the tactics, we are probably at our best when we're playing a team that's going to come at us. And when we're playing against a team that basically plays the way that we like to play and plays as a counter-attacking team, a low block team, that sort of setup. When we play against a team that is very similar to us, we struggle. And I think that that's especially so when we play at London Stadium, because at London Stadium, as the home team, probably not against the top 6 teams, but teams outside of that, there's probably an expectation from us, and rightly so, that we're going to be the team on the front foot. We're going to be the team that's attacking. We're going to be the team that's really strutting their stuff. And when I mean, as I say, and I've said it before, the Sheffield United game earlier this season, yeah, we won it. But seriously, I was, in the second half, I was nodding off. And that's not an exaggeration. That's not me trying to sort of, get some sort of hyperbole out there that, I had a kip in the second half. No, I'm not saying I went to sleep, but I literally was doing the nodding dog. It was boring as fuck. It really was. So yeah, I mean, for me, I think that when we play against teams that we're supposed to open up the taps against, I think that is really when we're struggling, to be honest with you. But Moyes needs to find a way, because I think that other teams are going to pick up on it. It's not lost on other teams that we have struggled the most when we played those teams. For me, all right, we've also struggled against teams like Liverpool and Man City, but let's be completely honest, we're supposed to struggle against them. I'm not talking about those games. I'm talking about the teams that we should be beating. And with all due respect, or maybe not beating, but certainly being more competitive against. And I didn't see in the games against Villa, in the game against Brentford, I've not really seen that competitive spirit, to be honest with you. That's just my take on it. Budgie's come in. It's looking more and more like head-to-head for Emerson and Paquetá for Hammer of the Year this season. I truly believe that Emerson is the best left-sided player we've had in 10 years or more. He had a really good run in the first half, didn't he? He took the ball and he was charging off. And from memory, I think he got chopped down, didn't he? We got a free kick out of it. But he was on a mission there. Gotta say, he's proved me wrong. I'll hold my hands up. When we brought him into the club, I was on record as saying he's just a slightly less shit version of Arthur Masuaku. And I've got to say, hands up, I'll eat my words. He has been absolutely top draw this season. He really has. I think you're possibly right there, mate. I think that Emerson, Paquetá, Bowen, Ward-Prowse are the early contenders. Maybe Alvarez is someone. The only thing I think why Alvarez might miss out is ultimately because I think he's got to miss games through getting yellow cards and suspension. So that's probably what's going to cost him in the long run. But anyway, that's pretty much me for tonight. I'm going to disappear and start my Friday evening in earnest. I have my little Stella. Hang on a minute. That's very nice. And I hope you've all got a nice cooling beverage, or maybe a warming beverage to sort of like to start your Friday evening in earnest. He's everything we wanted from Masuaku and a lot more. You're not wrong, Budgie. He's made Masuaku. We've not missed him. I think it's fair to say that from signing Emerson from Chelsea that we've not missed Arthur Masuaku. Martin, you are more than welcome. Right, I'm going to disappear, guys. I thank you very much indeed for watching. And for you guys that are watching this latterly, if you've got it to this point, please make sure you put comments in on the various topics that I've covered as I've gone along and give me your thoughts, and I'll do my best to try and answer as many of them as possible. For you guys that are watching, either live or latterly, please don't forget to like, comment on, and share this stream to your social media platforms, and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Make sure you hit the bell icon for alerts on new content. Guys, as always, we thank you very much indeed for your support in this particular matter. And please also don't forget to give your support to the Iron Supporting Food Banks charity. And we will see you for the Nottingham Forest preview, which I anticipate will be some point tomorrow. Come on, you Irons. Stay safe. See you next time. The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham fans and friends inspired by the work of other football food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for a Newham food bank in Beckton, who supplies 7 distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thanks for your support. Come on, you Irons.